Alright guys, I got a lot of requests to see my bookshelf, so my bookshelf. Let's see. I've got a lot of archaeological books. Archaeology. This is a lot of famous archaeologists and explorers in Egypt. They're all, Valley of the Kings, Amarna, Nefertiti, some other stuff that I really don't know how to pronounce. But they're famous historians, of course. And it's just a really fun book. For instance, Champollion, right? The guy who deciphered the Rosetta Stone. That's awesome. So, they have a full section on him, right? Sir Arthur Evans. Not exactly sure what he did, but he's very famous. Well received by the community. Henry Layard. Not exactly sure what he did. But yeah, there's just like a lot of cool particular people and the awesome things that they did specifically. Mummies, death and the afterlife in ancient Egypt. I love this book because it's got pictures. It's also got really well taken shots, with a black background. It's on a particular type of paper and printed so that it's just like super HD. I think I got this one at, the Bowers Museum. That's what I thought. So I love this one too. There's a lot of mummy, of course, it's a lot of mummies. It's a lot of Egyptian art, which is an entire section of history, art, outside of what's been written and what's been told in stories passed down from generation to generation. The other thing that gets passed down is art. So that's a whole section of history. Also, what else do I got? More art ones. So the story of painting. This one's really cool. The Renaissance, English paintings, abstracts, or highly religious paintings, all these different styles, it's awesome. Northern Renaissance art. So right now we're kind of in my history and art section. This one doesn't really have, I know, right? I think I took the cover off, but there's that one. And then the mummies. And then my archaeological book. I don't think Zahi Hawass is in here. He's just like one of my favorite archaeologists. That doesn't make sense. He's one of my favorite archaeologists for Egyptian culture. I got a basic preparedness book. I was in Boy Scouts a lot, went camping a ton, and so I've accumulated some books that would make it so that I would survive if I read all of this and used all of this. I have read this entire book, but there's some skills to learn that I have yet to master. But Terracotta Warriors. I love this. Again, giant pictures. Oh, look at that. As well as it's a huge book. Like, if you want to feel like a kid again. ton of history to be learned in these, as well as just beautiful photos. I mean, if you really wanted to, these are basically posters. You could cut this page out. I mean, if you don't particularly need the other side, which is words and important. Oh. It gives you a poster. Look at this, look at this. You want a panoramic view? Holy moly. I feel like I'm here. I'm there. That's awesome. Ooh. Some Terracotta Warriors again. I love it. It's a big book. Fun to read. I do like anatomy stuff. Sciences of the body. Learning about a lot of these things, the brain, everything. Anatomy 360. More camping, survival books. Yeah, that stuff's awesome. Some music. This is a cool book. The Hollywood History of the World. So, of course, Hollywood tries to show real history. I mean, there's plenty of historical movies out there. And Hollywood, they helped shape the view of particular cultures, you know. For instance, I think because of a particular movie, the Vikings now have horns on their helmets, which they never did. So that's one of the things that Hollywood misconstrued it into the brains of people around the world of what they may have looked like, and it wasn't true. So on top of the things that were true and weren't true that Hollywood got right and wrong, they did a solid effort at portraying it correctly. Absolutely. I don't think any of the Hollywood movies were intending on messing it up. There's just also a lot of history, a lot of conflicting sources, and then a lot of, artistic freedom involved. And sometimes it's just a little inaccurate. But no, they did not try to mess up the real history. It's just art, it's movies in a time period. I love Elvis Presley. So this is just a CD cassette of a lot of his live recordings. Awesome. Here's a fun one. You remember what I was talking about, big history? The big picture of history? This is a huge, big picture. Stephen Hawking, The Illustrated, A Brief History of Time, The Universe in a Nutshell. You read one page of this, and first of all, you're 10 times smarter than you were previous, and you're gonna just think about that all day. One page, all day. It's awesome. He makes it super easy to follow along a obviously very difficult to comprehend topic. Also, here's a Harvard University book, Telling True Stories. Absolutely. This book tells you how to write true stories, keep you from, what Hollywood was doing, accidentally misconstruing something, or taking too many artistic freedom ventures, and then straying away from the hardcore truth. So this is a great book, especially if you're intending on writing about history, to keep it truthful, keep it exactly what it is. Mark Twain, always loved him. I have a lot of classics. There's a guy that kind of talks about the history of the times in a story that he made up, involving real life type of characters, the way life really was, and he puts it into a story that has many meanings that you could find. I love pirates. The Republic of Pirates. I've probably read this whole thing twice. Talks about Blackbeard, the golden age of piracy, 1715 to 1725. If I had to choose to be a privateer or a pirate, I'd be the pirate. For sure. Privateers were pirates, essentially, but they were allowed to be pirates by Queen Elizabeth, by the government. The thing about the privateers is usually it was the pirates that stole their stuff, and then they would go to the Queen and be like, look, they stole my stuff, can I please go get it back? And she's like, yeah, go get it back. And then they'd go get it back. So they were just pirates getting back their own stuff, but a lot of privateers turned into real full-blown pirates when they realized how easy it was to steal a bunch of stuff off of other people's ships. So, and a lot of them didn't get back all their stuff. I mean, they died trying. Great stories, dark. There's a lot of evil, a lot of torture, a lot of death. But it also, there's a lot of mysticism, and for instance, Blackbeard wasn't as scary as people said he was. Yeah, he had a black beard, dressed like a pirate, but a lot of the stories of the legends of Blackbeard, some of them weren't true. It's kind of like, it reminds me of what's it called? Gosh darn it. I'll get back to you on that. Anti-Fragile. So this isn't necessarily a history book. It's a life book, actually. The thing about Anti-Fragile is, you know, what is anti-fragile? It's not just something that's indestructible. So for instance, fragile means it breaks when impacted or falls apart. And anti-fragile is it gets stronger when more pressure or it's dropped. It doesn't break, it actually gets stronger. I mean, for instance, I think your muscles are anti-fragile because when you stress them and hurt them, they get stronger. So with your muscles being anti-fragile, you want your mentality to be anti-fragile. Your focus, your the way you view life, what happens to you or what you do, you get better and better with You get better and better with there being adversity. I'm an actor. I love acting. Here's monologues for men. These are great. They give you a little bit of what the scene or kind of the plot of the movie or play is, and then they give you the monologue. So you can also look up, more about the particular movie or show, and then really understand the monologue deeper. But there's a fantastic list of monologues. A lot of different types of characters. This is a great book. More MLA format and essay writing books is this one's really good. Oxford Essential Guide to Writing. The Well-Written Sentences. It's great. Writing about literature. So, more specifically, writing about literature, writing about history. Those are two different ways of writing, per se. Like I said, I have a lot of classics. Steinbeck, The Wayward Bus, Grapes of Wrath, The Red Pony. Red Pony is one of the shorter ones, obviously. I read that one a couple times. Really puts you on a farm. It really does. It's a nice, calm read. It's fun. Penny Dreadfuls. If you haven't seen the TV show, it's a great TV show. Penny Dreadfuls are basically short stories that involve Dracula, demons. It's kind of Supernatural. The TV show Supernatural. It's got a lot of those things going on with all the different types of stories that are in here. What's the one? I'll get back to you on that. That one's a fun book, fun TV show. The New World, Winston Churchill. Fantastic writer. This guy. Fantastic life. Well lived and well written. Well documented. I believe Winston Churchill had a fantastic view of the world. I think he was one of the most unbiased researchers and historians. He really says it the way he sees it. I mean, that's probably the only biased thing about him it's clearly the way he understood things. But he also didn't sway towards any particular group that would have impeded on him relaying the true history as it was. I don't think he tried to push any objectives. I think his only objective was to say it right. Plays of our time. This has 6 plays written out. Let's see. Death of a Salesman. That's a good one. So it's all written out like a book would, without major descriptions. It's literally just the play itself, straight up. Love it. More Egyptian art. That's how a lot of ancient civilizations can communicate to us, because We didn't share the same language. Thank you, Champollion, for deciphering that for us, because that helped us learn a ton about the culture. But really, we had statues, paintings, art to figure out what happened, you know? Thankfully, I mean, nowadays we have video, we have literature that can easily be deciphered into the future in the known future. I don't know what 10,000 years from now is going to look like, but I'm sure we're going to understand each other. Kind of. I'm not sure. I don't know what 10,000 years is going to be. But everything changes very fast. But I'm kind of pretty sure we'll be able to understand each other in that far in the future. The Dickens Digest. David Copperfield. Martin Sherfield. Oliver Twist. This book is very old too. I love old books. I'll show you some of my old ones. Once we get up there, there's still 2 more levels. '40s. Alright, let's move up. William Shakespeare, some volumes, super old ones. How beautiful these are. See, as we get more and more up, you know, into my eyesight level, I tend to put the ones that look beautiful. History of the Habsburgs Empire. Habsburg Empire. 1526 through 1918. Well-written book. Got some notes in there. The Frankish Empire. And the Saxons. You know, I mean, that takes it all the way back to even the 7th, 8th century. But that's because the Habsburg Empire was that long of a period. This is only a small period within the Habsburg Empire. Well, it was the developing of the Habsburg Empire, the Carolingian empires, specifically what I was talking about in 752 with the Saxons and the Franks. But this is that area of the world. So, more Winston Churchill, Hinge of Faith. Fantastic. Fate, sorry. This one's fun. The Saga of Billy the Kid. Starts at the very beginning of Billy the Kid. It really does. From the eyes of other people that knew him too. Because look at Little House on the Prairie, for instance. She wrote about all of the stories that happened in her days. Same thing a lot of people did that. A lot of people wrote down stories of their lives. They didn't have TV. So they essentially were master creators of entertainment. I mean, for today, in today's world, how many people are watching TV as opposed to writing down the awesome adventures that happened in their lives today? Not very many. So, particular people that met Billy the Kid and wrote about it, if we've been able to find all of them, which I don't think we have, that's how we learned about other people, about Billy the Kid, a lot of things. So, that's a cool book. More Gibson's the decline and fall of the Roman Empire, of course, the Vikings and their enemies. I think it's, yeah, so warfare in Northern Europe from 750 to 1100. Great book. If you like the TV show, The Vikings, you're going to want to read this and you'll see exactly how well the Vikings TV show is produced. They are very accurate. You're going to see battles that may be said or portrayed in the... It's a historical fiction TV show. In the TV show. But you're going to see which battles that were significant in the TV show be in this book. You're gonna get a real history account of what the historical fiction TV show is portraying. It's great. I mean, that's why I like historical fiction TV shows, because they're historical fiction, meaning there is some free reign and artistic touches that embellish or just make more entertaining in a way the real history. Volume 1 and 2, H.G. Wells, The Outline of History. Yeah. Outline of History, again, H.G. Wells. But these are two different, so this one's more recently created. See? It's kind of like that. And then, same volume. Just old looking and pretty. Hard book cover. Study of History, Oxford. This is interesting. I read this book a couple times. His famous biography, Abridged, Jefferson, A Great American's Life and Ideas. You want to find a focused person. This guy taught himself Greek, taught himself ancient hieroglyphs, studied in his office 16 hours a day. Obviously was huge for the founding of America. And it's because he is such a well-rounded learner, lifelong learner. And he really, every day, tried to make the world a better place. 100%. Fantastic person to read about and adopt a lot of his mentality and habits. You'll be a better person because of it. This one's super cool. So in my Jefferson phase, Thomas Jefferson and the Tripoli Pirates. Fantastic book about, the forgotten war that changed American history. The Mediterranean Sea. The trade route that was ran by the mob, essentially. Not the mob, but that's what was going on. There was constantly ships being, they're pirates, being taken over and stolen from, and it was the beginning of the necessary development of the U.S. military, of course, but the Navy. And that was when we started to really develop the Navy for America in the 17 and early 1800s. We had to have our own, yeah, outside of just the land being founded, we also needed to own our section of the ocean. So, great book. Quotations of Benjamin Franklin. Obviously, this is my U.S. history and founding fathers and the others section on my bookshelf. Quotations of Ben. I'll just read a couple of them here. Randomly here. Good sense is a thing all need. Good sense is a thing all need, few have, and none think they want. Without justice, courage is weak. Energy and persistence conquer all things. Absolutely. The wit and wisdom of Benjamin Franklin, more of that. This one's a great Ben Franklin, Inventing America. This goes, unlike the quotes, of course, into more detail pertaining to Benjamin's struggles, really, of which he overcame triumphantly, both in his personal life and the larger goal of founding America. If it weren't for this guy, it wouldn't be what it is today. And I think he made it a way better place. And this is a good book. Quite sad, actually. War Letters. Extraordinary correspondence from American wars. Some of this stuff will make you cry. Extremely deep. Letters to warriors. They're warriors. Saying, you know, I'm pregnant. And it's your kid. And I can't wait to see you when you come home. And sometimes there's not a return letter because, well, he didn't come home. It's very sad. There's also a lot of good ones. There are a lot of good ones. Happy ones. Good things that happen too. This one's awesome. This is a volume. These 4. There's actually 5. One's in my car. History of the United States. I have a lot of History of the United States volumes. They're all written by different people, as well as they're written in different time periods. This is 1887. That's old. It's a quite difficult read, to be honest. Almost every sentence you gotta look up a word that just hasn't, uncouth. I'm not exactly sure what that means. But this was right about when, history of the United States. I mean, the United States was only just over 100 years old. You know, there's a lot to be said in such a short amount of time. It's a great read and historical. Look at it. You can see how I'm holding it. It's just, this is art too. This is a really cool book set too. It's actually, this is only 4, I have 5, of I think like up to 20 something books. The messages and papers of the presidents. So, for instance, well, it goes in order from George Washington all the way to, I believe this was, I don't know what years this publication was. Copyright 1897. Very old series. Not very many eyes have read this. kind of only mine and my grandfather's. Maybe my grandmother looked at it a couple times, but the correspondence between all the way from, hey, innkeeper, I'm coming to your place on Tuesday at 10 a.m. Thank you for having us, out on their travels. A lot of people wanted to help the president, and then the innkeeper being like, yeah, we can't wait to see you. It's gonna be awesome. We have food ready for you and everything. So, and then them, saying thank you for that, as well as all the way down to him talking to U.S. generals about, the current state of affairs on particular battlegrounds. This is a great read, and if you want to read real history and letters about certain times of history or particular events, this is going to be an uncanny account of those exact events. Beautiful. I'm so glad somebody put them in chronological order, and you can read it right along with other history books. These are cool. These are Harvard classics. I think a lot of people have these. They were widely distributed, although once I get the full set, it's worth like $2,500, and I got these for $2 a piece because it didn't come in a full set. So I was like, I'm gonna bargain with this guy. What is this one? Lectures. Yeah. And it might be history, science, and literature lectures. They're really good at giving full spectrum. Essays in English traits, Elizabethan drama. Wow. Famous prefaces, sacred writings. That one's great. Confucius is like the first one. Obviously a dictionary, because there's a lot of words in here that I don't know. This one's cool. Ridpath's History of the United States. Another history of the United States. Like I said, once we got about 100 years deep into United States history, a lot of people came out with a couple volumes. There's 3 of these, this size. So yeah, it's on the smaller side, but just as awesome. Look at him talking about, I'm not sure when this was written. He's talking about 1907 stuff. Revised 1911. Look at that. Those books are over 100 years old. Fuck yeah. So, yeah. I have a ton of books in boxes. A lot of those ones I've already read. These are a lot of ones that I haven't read yet or look too beautiful to put in a box. Yeah, that's my bookshelf as of currently. So, get out there, find some old books. I've got a lot of books that are over 100 years old, almost 150. It's awesome. That's an old book smell. They should make that into a car scent, to be honest. Old book. Alright. Thanks, guys, for sticking through it all. I'm sure, I hope that was super entertaining and inspires you to go out looking for some awesome books, and reading them. Yeah, Barnes & Noble is great. Find a bunch of books. Also, luckily my grandfather was a history major, so he had a lot of old books that he read himself. Actually, this volume right here, he read. and made notes, annotated notes. So it's kind of cool. So dig into your grandfather's or great grandfather's basement or attic and find those books. Yeah, this is Running Through History, my bookshelf as of current. Enjoy, guys. History is awesome.